Security Agency has confirmed that State Security Minister alledgedly and her deputy Zizi Kodwa and other executives have had their cell phones cloned. While details are still not clear at this point, Security Agency's Marva Scott says the matter is being dealt with by the police in Gauteng.
There are incidents of cloning of phones, particularly of the deputy minister, the minister, and as you say, several officials in the office of the minister. This was discovered, I think, about a day or two ago, and the matter has been reported to the police. The information we have is that the operation is happening around Johannesburg. Hence, the matter was reported to General Mawela, who has assured us that he has assigned the matter to his top investigators, and we will just have to allow the investigation to go on and take it from there.
And they'll take it from there. For more on this, Sense Post Chief Technology Officer, Mr. Leon Jacobs, joining us here on the show. Leon, good to have you with us. I suppose the obvious question many South Africans are going to ask an expert like you is, how did this even happen?
Well, Gareth, the reality is from the reports so far, we don't have a lot of concrete information that can answer that in a way that I think would be satisfactory. And I think the reality of that is at this point, we're probably only also going to speculate like many others. I think it's important maybe to understand, should something like this happen, heavily dependent on the method it could have been executed in, what would your phone have then that is interesting to have access to, or why would someone want to do something like this? And I think, given the targets in the reports, one can assume state secrets, etc., is a very valuable target to go after, and maybe for obvious reasons, maybe not so much for me. But I think it's important to understand that just cloning a phone is not just something that just happens. By design, a manufacturer will try and prevent that. This is not something that should just be possible. It's many times a design feature in how the security of a device is built to prevent such a thing from just happening blasé. If we had to speculate, this could have come in the form of, when we say cloning a phone, did we clone a SIM card? Did we clone the entire device in terms of just the data that's on it? Was there physical access in forms of modifying the device to clone it in some way? By saying these things, you can imagine the number of questions that just come from that, and how could that actually have happened? And so truthfully, to answer that, don't know. Until more details would come out, it will just be a speculation.
Obviously, we want to try and avoid speculation, so let's not try and speculate why this happened. The report is that it did happen, but when it deals with targets, I think is the word you use, like ministers, they're under very tight security at the best of times. I mean, how easy is it? I mean, my phone is on the desk at the moment. I'm getting messages from my wife. But I mean, how easy is it to clone? I mean, could it be as simple as you sitting there, I'm not paying attention, and you do what with my phone exactly?
Look, it would depend on what the issue of the phone might be. I think the reality is maybe an older device, a cheaper device, not necessarily mentioning specific manufacturers, but a cheaper device is not necessarily as secure as a more expensive device might be. And the reason for that could purely be the technology that exists in this device. To save costs is not implemented, and naturally the device is just cheaper. Whereas a more expensive one, well, that might have some technologies that doesn't make it that easy to do that thing.
So when it comes to the cloning of a device, obviously many South Africans will know about when your credit card is skimmed. It's just taking data that they can move money around. So if you're cloning my phone, Leon, how much of it are you getting? Is it literally a mirror of my phone? You can access my WhatsApp contacts. You can access my email. You can access my bank accounts?
Yep.
Emails?
So to be careful in answering that, it does depend on how such a clone would have happened. Just to be clear, if it's a SIM card clone, for example, what you get access to would be very specific to the technology. If it was a case of a literal clone of the entire device, the question we should ask ourselves is what is on our device, and that data is at risk. It includes emails, it includes photos, it includes WhatsApps, and it might be a bit controversial, but the transport mechanism for WhatsApp messages is encrypted, so someone in that perspective can't see it. But when it's on your device, you need to read it, and by extension, that's not encrypted necessarily.
Just before I say goodbye to you for the show, as far as cloning a device is a concern. I mean, people get their Twitter accounts hacked, they get their emails hacked. I think we all know how that would work. What can I do to stop my phone being cloned?
I think the most important thing that you can do is make sure the device is up to date. If you have a passcode or a passphrase on your phone, the stronger that is, the harder such an attack could be, depending on how it happens. But just good personal security in terms of not having weak passwords is probably the best step you could take already.
All right, Leon, I appreciate your time for coming in to speak to us this evening. It's a pleasure to have Leon Jacobs, Chief Technology Officer at SensePost, joining us here on ENCA about the cloning of devices within the various departments.